Woo! Oh, evening. What time is it? Are we on time? Oh God, right on the nose. Good evening, Dion Mullins. Hello everyone. Greetings, bonjour, assalamu alaikum, hotep, abarigani, como estás? Muy bien. Whatever language do I know? Wagwan. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Like, what's up with you? What other languages can we put out, man? Ja, Rastafari. For all my cockneys out there. You alright, mate? Alright, me old mate. How's it going? Sweet as a nut. Jelly dills and donuts. Trust me, on the natural vibes. We're on natural vibes. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Black Cast. Sunday evening as usual with Courtney Winston, yours truly, your host, and we'll be joined with some illustrious guests. Am I shouting? Let me just bring it down. Welcome everybody on the platform. Come on in the cyber room because we're going controversial today. We're going in controversial on the cyber room on a subject matter on is black masculinity dying? Is black masculinity dying? And this was inspired by the images that we see at the awards ceremony with Lewis Hamilton, with Little Nas X, and many other hosts of our celebrities. Greetings. Listen, we're not going to tarry. We're going to just get straight into it. I'm going to bring on my illustrious guest. This one's called The Three Kings Plus a Queen. Yeah, so it's called Is Black Masculinity Dying? The Three Kings. Yeah, man. King, it says king. All right, singular pronoun. King, but kings plus a queen, because we're bringing in a sister as well who's going to break down the actual, you know what, let me not talk no more. Let me just, how's everyone's strong been? How's everyone strong? How is everyone's strong been? So let me bring in this queen first. My brother Dean, I see you. Do you know what? Simultaneously, just bring everybody in one time, yeah? One time. Kevin, where you? I see you sending in a request. So let's bring in a king and a queen right now. Natal and Dean, we're going in. Oh! Yes, my brother. Good to see you. Peace and greetings and love. How's your strong been? Not your weak, but how's your strong been, brother?
No, it's never weak, King. It's all intentional. It's always strong and always cram-packed.
Come on.
Absolutely.
Strong days. Absolutely blessed. So we're on point with our subject matter today with Is Black Masculinity Dying? We're going to bring in a therapist by the name of Mr. Kevin Bennett. Everybody come up into the side room. We're loving it. Please share this. Please, everyone share this platform. Let everybody know we're live. Turn off television, put on the real. Turn off that television and put on this vision. Turn off that television and put on this vision. We're in the house with Dean at the moment. We're talking about black masculinity. We're not holding anything, no filters. We're going in. With respect to all of the different communities, we're going in. So, brother, oh, right, we've got the queen coming in the building. Oh, we've got the king coming in, Another king coming in. Woo! Kevin Bennett, what are you saying? This is like WWF tag team tonight, man. He's coming in with us, Dean. He's coming in. And, oh, yes. The Free King are in the house.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Love, my brothers.
Respect.
How's your strong? We don't say here at Black House, how's your week been? We say, how's your strong been, Kevin? How's your strong been these days? How's it been, brother?
It's good. I'm excited, man. I'm almost finished my book. So I'm really happy and grateful about that. And my 5 first episodes of my Kevin Bennett's Trauma will be launching next week as well. So God willing, all is good. All's going in the right direction.
Beautiful. Brothers, I feel honored and pleasured just to have you two kings here. I love and admire you both. I want to let you know that. Kevin, you've been on our platform. Dean, you've been on our platform. You're both doing some mighty works in the community. You are both examples of black, strong masculine. I will say, I mean that from my heart, brother. No cap, as the young people say, no cap, no lying. Truth, I'm talking straight from the heart, not the throat. Both of you, my brothers, I know you personally, and I've seen your growth. And you're both consistent. So everybody at Black Car Speakers Lounge, give a big fire symbol for the 2 kings, the 3 kings, including myself now. Big fire symbol for the kings.
Also, I've got to say likewise, same thing like Dean, I've been watching your journey and I've got so much respect for you. You're absolutely amazing. So I've got also to say, man, respect for all what you've been doing. Behind the scenes, I know you've been kicking ass and I love your authenticity. It's been absolutely amazing over time. So I also got to applaud you as well. And, you know, once again as well, I've got to send you that love, man, because you've got to have everything. But yeah, I've got also as well, just say like, respect, man. You've always invited me back, allow me to come on your platform. So I really respect that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you, brother, for coming on the platform, Kevin. Thank you for coming on the platform, Dean. I see my sister.
I just wanted to say to Kevin as well, it's reciprocal. I've been watching your journey for a minute. And it's one of those things where we've collided through very similar worlds with similar trajectories, just not touching in parallel universes.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And as you know, on a metaphysical level, everything is divine timing. And there are things even down to our security as a community that I know you're aware, and what's known doesn't need to be spoken. When that conversation happens, it will happen in person. And that's when many, many dots will be connected from all worlds that have been operating in isolation, but through men who are as well experienced as me and you and as well connected as me and you. It is a very powerful coming together when we connect those dots in a room.
100%. I mean, my door's always open, man, and you know, whatever's at my disposal, I'm happy to open up and share. So yeah, 100%. When you're ready, man, I'm up for it. I'm there.
Vice versa.
Respect.
All right, my brothers, we're gonna get on with this. My brothers, thank you very much, brother. I love the love, man. And we're going to talk about this, what is going on, which seems to be an epidemic mainly in the black entertainment world, amongst the black entertainers. And we're talking about not even just the entertainers, but in general, what's been happening. And I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to let these 2 scientists, you hear me well, scientists, everybody like, follow, subscribe, share, get everybody in the room, get the young brothers in the room, the young sisters in the room, get everybody in the room as we go into this subject matter. And we are not disrespecting anyone's choice, but we are simply approaching this from our community perspective. We are simply investigating this from a journalistic, historical, psychological, political perspective. It is necessary for us to maintain our human rights, which is freedom of speech with respect. And I want to say before we kick off, we love all of our family who are alternative lifestyles. I'm going to say that again. We love all of our family. This is not disparaging. This is simply unpacking, investigating, and coming together as to what is going on in our community. This is what I saw this week. Been seeing. And I also saw, that's Lil Nas X. I saw Lewis Hamilton. They're coming for me. Come, please. I saw basketball players, athletes, and it made me think what's happening where black male athletes, black celebrities, black strong muscular men, masculine looking men are now wearing female clothes. Is the black masculine image dying? Dean, go ahead, brother. Give us your point of view.
Here's the thing. When you look at the psychological attack on Africans, you have to think of it at a national level. So what nations do when they seek to subvert particular pockets of any nation is they will work on intelligence, and the design is to subvert pockets of future generations. Now, these plans are decades long. So if you look at Russia and the last US elections, and they said that Russian bots were interacting as ADOS, it is to subvert pockets of a nation so that you create a certain discourse that is oppositional to the main. Now, in creating that indoctrination in our younger generations is aimed at those children in schools, which is why Lil Nas X was well positioned in elementary schools, because it's not aimed at us. Now, there is also something that we have done as men in abdicating our responsibility to comment on such things. And every time we say them, or this is going to be because they told us in science fiction, we make Europeans an omnipotous group, which they aren't, which is what they do through their Wizard of Oz tactics and tools, such as films and media, to make us believe that. The whole point of these films, like Precognitive Crime, is for us to get that thing. Oh, they see us. Oh, they know what conversations we're having. So the same thing that we did in slavery, in making a sophisticated language, even as we have fear to talk about the Davos agenda now. So I might say rolling up our sleeves as opposed to risking your video being pulled from social medias of their control. So what we do within that is psychologically, we give them powers that they don't have, in that we make them omnipotous. So then what we do is we censor and silence ourselves. So we're really to blame, because the last time that I was on your show, I said to you, everything is mind. Now, everything is mind, but it's more than the intellect. It's also the emotion, which is how we call when we set our antennas to receive. Now, when we reduce our emotion and our intellect, we reduce the scope of our broadcast, which means that we're not even touching each other as brothers. So there's not even a line of African men who are going to articulate what our agenda is and our politics. I'm not homosexual and I'm not a transvestite. So I only personally advocate for the African family because I advocate within my interests. But what I hold dear and believe is that everybody has a right to express who they are. It's just not within my particular values and interests. So what I see with Lewis Hamilton, when he had his tweet about his nephew wearing a dress, he was a very important target to be buck-broken. Now, because we have that attack where all other ethnicities and groups as special interest groups who make themselves special interest groups, which we don't as African men globally, are very organized in the advocacy and defense of their community. So as soon as the European alphabets say that this is homophobic, everybody else will react and then target an individual. Now, that is a heavy amount of pressure to be facing as an individual without wise counsel who aren't advocating within your interests. So when you take that on board, it's of no surprise that first thing you do is you will go and undertake sensitivity training from somebody else's agenda. You see, I never will, because my agenda is for African family. And that actually includes African homosexuals because they're part of our family. And I made this case with Baldwin before as to whether people are net wins or net losses for our community. So I will always embrace fully a net win and all of our children. However, my particular interests are for the growth in socio-economic development for the African family. Now, if you fall into that, you're going to be advocated as a byproduct of being African. And if you desire homosexual specific advocacy, then Stonewall is in another direction. But we all also have African grassroots organizations who are the antithesis of the African community, who advocate for African Caribbean homosexuals, and they have the same in the States. Now, there are places within that intersection where our interests divert, and we're quite clear about that. However, we aren't adversaries. So there was always a clear line, psychologically, about transvestites, men who like to dress in women's clothes. And if you agree that you're a transvestite, I don't have any problem with you saying that and stating that. But we are aware through psychological warfare at a national level, and now we're thinking about a Cold War that Russians or Chinese might hold against nations, like the US might hold against China or Russia, or Arab nations, when you see uprisings like the Arab Spring against the African organization of family values, and especially us as strong men. But the question is why? It's because we've reached a precipice amongst peers where we are effectively organized. And the only way to break that is by creating an intergenerational gap that is completely counter to the thinking of those highly organized African males who are strong and advocates.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Kevin, your piece on that. I love what you're saying there, D, man. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Kevin, question to you regarding the black male image. Is the black masculine male image dying? I mean, in any way how you want to drop it, brother. I mean, the way Dean dropped it, he dropped it the way he dropped it. It was awesome. There's so much to unpack. Please, people, share this page. Share, send, get people on this platform. We're getting some pearls of wisdom and knowledge. There's so much questions I want to ask you personally on what you were saying there, brother, to unpack it. But Kevin, you're here. And please, brothers, feel free to bounce off of each other. I'm just here as a moderator. Go ahead, Kevin.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Dean. That's powerful. Powerful. I've taken so much from that. Excellent. Here's the thing. With every campaign, there's stages to a campaign. There's an intent in a campaign. Now, I'm going to break it up into 3 different areas. Area number 1 is this. Let's start with self. We, as the black community, first and foremost, but black men, because we should be leading our community, and if we're not, there's something wrong, okay? We, first and foremost, must take responsibility of our image externally, because we are very quick, first and foremost, to destroy our own image. Now, if we don't care about our image, then the world is going to manipulate our image and use it against us. That's very, very important here. Because, you know, even when we make our own music videos, when we're making our own movies, or when we're in movies, we are always the drug dealer, the uneducated kid, and so on and so forth. Yes, of late, there's been superheroes and so on and so forth, but that's very hard to get out of your head when historically we've been the person who grabs the old woman's bag, the drug dealer, the so on and so forth. So once again, when the world looks in and they see that we don't care much for our image, because you won't see the Jewish community destroying their image as Jews, right? And you won't see, you know, there's many different areas you won't see. You won't see the Chinese destroy their image as Chinese people.
Teach us, bro.
So what we do, we let everyone into our community. We let everyone into our world, and we let everyone manipulate us. We fight against each other because of external communities. There's many different things that we do that we have to take responsibility for, first and foremost. And then what happens, organizations and companies see what's going on, and then they say, well, let's now make money off of it. So you saw the H&M campaign, you see Gucci do campaigns, you saw these different companies and conglomerates do campaigns because they know we're just going to get emotional, we're going to promote them, then we're going to spend our money even more at a later date.
Come on.
We are very good at the council culture, but we're very good at counseling ourselves, not externally. Wow. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So this is very, very, very important here. Now, let's go to the campaign. See, here's the thing. if we cared about our image, no disrespect to any community and what they're doing and what they're about, but if we cared about our image, Little Nas X wouldn't even got into our culture. It would have never happened. First and foremost, yeah, the Tekashi 6ix9ine or whatever his name is, he would have never got into our culture. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's not just, see, here's the thing. If all of your doors in your house are open, it's very hard to protect the one room because you don't know where it's coming from. There's too many leaks in our community that is allowing this to happen. Because as I said, if it's like, okay, let's say we're against snitching, okay? So how is it that Tekashi 6ix9ine is still being promoted and analyzed and acknowledged by the black community? Yeah, if we are about the black image, why is it that we are allowing the Little Nas X and stuff to come into our communities and just spread whatever mood he's in at that time? Because I watched I don't know if you saw it, the Breakfast Club, where he said F the children. Yeah, they said to him, what about
repeat that again so people understand. Repeat what you just said again. So
on the Breakfast Club, they said to him, you know, your whole marketing has been towards children. Okay? What do you think about the children? What do you think about being responsible towards children? And he said, out of his own mouth, F the children. I don't care about the children. Right. So you've got to understand, first and foremost, these people that you're letting in the name of, let's be fair. Let's look at equality. No one looks at, or I can't say no one, but the majority of our community do not care about protecting our community, so we are manipulated by every other community. You know, communities in general. And so when you look at how to manipulate an environment, there's 4 stages. Stage number 1 is to work on the belief system. That's stage 1, is your belief system. What do you believe? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your woman that's laying next to you? What do you believe about children? What do you believe about your parents? So stage 1 is belief system. Stage 2 is the meaning you give to things. So if you think about it, right? If stage 1 is your belief system, so let's say your belief system is negative.
Come on.
Okay? The meaning you give to things is negative because the meaning is your self-conversation. Stage 3 is action. Because when you believe, or let's say you don't believe, if you don't believe, you give things a negative meaning. If you give things a negative meaning, why even act upon it? Because it's not going to work anyway, or why bother? And then stage 4 is results. And so once again, if I go around it, stage 1, your belief system or the lack of it. Stage 2, the meaning you give to things, positive or negative, is your self-conversation. Stage 3 is the action or the lack of action you take. And stage 4 is the results you get or no results at all, which then reinforces your belief system. And so that's why you keep spiraling up or spiraling down. Now, why am I saying this to you? I'm saying this is because when you see these pictures very strategically taken and placed, it's a part of the belief system.
Reinforcement.
It's now introducing a new belief system, which then makes people think a certain way, which then makes people act a certain way, which then gives the results what they want. Now, on the flip side of the coin, I heard Bounty Killer say something about 4 years ago that's very interesting. He said, listen, back in the 20s and 30s, if you was gay, for example, you'll go to prison in England. That's how passionate they were. I think it was up until about the 50s or the 60s, right? You can go to prison for being gay in the
60s,
UK.
Yeah. 60s, possibly 70s, possibly 70s, 60s, but we'll get back on that. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Okay. And so you've got to remember all the places where they colonized. So that means they taught everyone to think that way across their colonies over that time, right? And so Jamaica was just working with what they was given or beaten into them. And then they woke up one day and they said, right, we're changing the agenda. This is what we're now going to do.
And why? Go ahead, brother. Come on.
Well, here, once again, here's the thing, and that's a good question. The question is the why. In order to, well, I'm going to just
carry on. Sorry, brother, for this.
I'm writing a book at the moment, right? And I was looking at why is it that they believe there's 31 days in a month, according to the moon, but there's only 28 days in a month. And so then by default, I had to look at calendars. And I discovered that I think in 1582, the Pope introduced a new calendar.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, why did he introduce a new calendar from the calendar that was before? And why was it the Pope? Because once again, they wanted to introduce Easter and they wanted to introduce new things that's going to change the way that people think and behave and act moving forward.
Jeez.
So this is not new, what they're doing. And so if we fast forward, what do? They ban Bounty Killer or Council Bounty Killer, right? Sizzler, Beanie Man fighting for his life. Shabba was done. All of our heroes, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, were destroyed because they were standing for something. And what did the black community do? Okay, let's find a new artist to celebrate. They did not stand behind the artists that were saying, this is what our culture and community is about. Let's fight for it. They did not stand. And so back to what I'm saying, what I said before, we are to blame because we don't stand behind our heroes. 100%. We don't stand behind the people that fight for us, sing for us, and so on and so forth. And as soon as something new's been introduced into our community, we run towards it. We are to blame. It doesn't matter what another person's why is, because there's always going to be a why. Once again, it's happening with the Chinese coming into Jamaica and Africa as well, and absolutely taking over. Now Jamaicans can't even drive on their roads without paying to the Chinese. Now, once again, it ain't me throwing, it's not a race thing that I'm talking about. I'm just simply saying, because our leaders are not defending what we should be about, but also we are not defending what we're about in our households. Once again, there's so many doors open. I'm talking to you about so many different areas at once. We need to start closing the doors and the windows, start protecting the house.
Come on.
And so there are people in our communities that are cancerous. Now, the thing is, what do you do with a cancer? You have to cut it out, or it's going to metastasize. And if it's metastasized, it's too late. And so what we have to do, we have to rebuild again and start small and open up in stages and start qualifying people. We do not qualify anyone.
Jeez, come on, brother. Come on. Come on. Yo.
Kevin said it, and all I can hear is hope coming out of Kevin's mouth. Less is more, and there's plenty of us. It's
exactly.
What you do is demonstrable. Otherwise, it's a theory. It's only intellectual masturbation. It's an idea that has never seen any tangible practice within the community. It's not built on relationships. It's not built on practice. It's not built on evidence. And the minute that you go to academia, everything is evidence-based. That's what people are going to ask you. You say, this is fantastic and we can invest in it. But what you do is you put that at a trial level. There are always levels to entry. And what we haven't done is qualified anybody for anything. And the real point of that really falls on the larger community and the responsibility we have to take for ourselves. We don't socially or economically reward our champions. We say, we don't know how our champions eat, sustain themselves, whether they are mentally, physically, have a roof over their head, the state of their families. This is very important because what we look at is characters like Kemi Badenoch, Trevor Phillips, Tony Toole, and we say they're coons or sellouts. And then I look at you and I defy you to tell me they started out that way. They didn't. They started out ideologists. But our community doesn't socially or economically reward our champions. Now, what white supremacy does is recognize those brilliant minds and then understand that there is a route of entry point to rewarding them. So it starts with the economics. We'll fund your program. No problem. You did so well. If you do more and just evolve it in this way that we like, we'll reward you with more economics. Now, when you've done that, the next entry point is your title, because as human beings, by and large, we're approval junkies based on our indoctrination. There is a need, and particularly with African people, we have a psychological disposition of less than. So when we start from a psychological position of less than, the minute that I lick you with letters, MBE, OB, CB, we got the Pinocchio syndrome. Am I a real boy? Oh, yeah. Put that on your chest. Because what they understand is that's the wisdom word. The lion always had his courage. The Tin Man always had his heart. And the Scarecrow always had his brains. But it wasn't until they were given their certificates that they believed it. Oh! Behind the curtain. Now, it's no different. But the same way they use the projector and the booming microphone is the same way that they use mass media, which is where we then, because our entry point is our subconscious mind. Now that projection to our subconscious mind on a daily basis, more than, we say white supremacist, but we buy the supremacy, which doesn't exist because we all have very similar neuroses. We're not that separated. Even the richest of us, because we think it's economic. It's not economic. It's all about mind states because we have fragilities in different places. And it's not always visually, we wouldn't have a visual awareness from looking at the richest because they just hide better. They have more tools and more toys to distract us. You see any shotter, the first thing you're going to go and do is buy your Submariner. They're called images of magic because they distract us. And then the first thing I'm going to do as a minor shotter is say, Top Boy, and I'm going to follow you, not knowing that you're sleeping on somebody's couch with your Submariner. Right. But what you've done is you blinded me with your images of magic based on my entry points in my subconscious mind. Now, because they're well aware of this, remember, Europeans measure everything to kingdom come. And not just on a psychological level, but on a metaphysical level. So when Kevin is talking about the changing of dates, this is to do with religion and its covert occultism. Now, anybody that understands African spirituality understands that there's nothing wrong with occultism. It's just that some are open with their occultism and become adept by practice, and some are covert. Right. It just happens that religion at its center, at the highest echelons, now you are talking about those who just went from Roman Empire to Holy Roman Empire, who still practice Saturnalia, the taking the 7-year-old boys and the molestation anally of those boys.
I want to get into the history. That's where I want to go.
Practice that, and it's such a common culture, and that is protected and hidden. But it's just part of their occultist culture and practice. It's just that it is covert. And then when they get caught, we slap them on the wrist and we say it's wrong. But it is a standard part of their modus operandi. And then when we understand that there is a wider agenda that has always existed, all we're seeing is at the height of any empire, before they fall, it is because they expose what the true agenda is. And then where the outrage comes from the public is when the pedophilic stages come to fruition and they're fully there. Some pedophile murder happens that so outrages the public that every period it just drives it back underground, and then they start again the slow climb as they have to reach this position, which is where they would subvert us with us thinking is sexuality, and it is really to bring pedophilia to a fore, which is why they target our children sexually with sexual imaging.
Right. So, brothers,
So true. So
I mean,
true.
there's a lot. There's so much that's full. It's full. I've got a queen on there who was with us last week who's talking about nutrition, and I'm going to bring her on because there's a nutritional war regards to our masculinity as well. There's a nutritional war, and I want to quickly. I don't want to give too much energy to this individual, Little Nas X, but I was doing some reflecting over it, and let's look at the name that he has. He has a three-barrel name, Little Nas X, and for me, that's 3 generations he's encompassing. Little, you could say Little Wayne, the littles of the Little Waynes in terms of the rap generation. Obviously, Nasir, Nas, the original Nas rapper. Then, obviously, the X. You got the DMX, Exhibit, but further than that and deeper than that, because now I want to ask you the history of black masculinity. Hip-hop music originated with who was called the 5% movement under a man called Clarence 13X. We're going into history now, very important. Clarence 13X, member of the Nation of Islam, hit the streets and educated the youth on what was called supreme wisdom, supreme science, supreme knowledge. From that school of thought, you had the likes of KRS-One, Brand Nubian, Rakim Allah, Eric B. Rakim, all of the hip-hop fraternity was influenced by a man called Clarence 13X. People, please go and Google it, research it. So historically, the X, and as you know, Malcolm X is the one that gave fame to the X being the slave name, getting rid of Malcolm Little. Little was his slave name. So X was placed there for members of the Nation of Islam to get rid of the slave name. So for me, I'm looking at it deeply. I'm putting on my tinfoil hat now. I'm saying, hold on a minute. You got this young man called Little Nas X. I'm just using it as an example. Why would they name this man Little Nas X? Are they trying to encompass the whole of hip hop? Because hip hop's been under attack. I mean, hip hop used to be a thing whereby we never relied on the mainstream. It was very masculine, very manly, very powerful. You know, today is something else. You know, we understand that the trousers, the way we wear, our young people wear their trousers, we understand historically where the sagging comes from in terms of the prison code, where you will show another inmate that you were his mate, literally. So a lot of the young people wearing their trousers sagging, showing their bum cheeks, but a lot of the young, I asked the young people, do you know where that comes from? That comes from the prison code. So I thought it was very interesting that Little Nas X, and I'm not going to call him Little Nas X anymore because his real name, let's go by his proper name, because I think it's a disrespect for even us to call him Little Nas X. His name is Montero Lamar Hill. And you know what, Kevin, when he said F the children, we as a community, black, and in fact, the whole human family have to counsel that. We have to counsel that entirely. And it concerns me when parents are allowing their children just to play these kind of characters on television and let their children just watch. And that's why it is an internal problem. It is a thing where we have to look at ourselves in the mirror. Brothers, you're both right. I want us to go into the historical side of things.
Can I just answer to that, please? Like, I'm finding it so hard at the moment that no matter where I go in this conversation, I have to come back to us.
Yes,
honestly,
sir.
like, if you look at it, right, yes, the music industry overall was owned by the conglomerates, right? The bigger companies. However, we are the ones that, for example, we looked at our dark-skinned women and we dismissed them and we said, the lighter, the better. Yeah? We haven't been promoting women that have been extremely intelligent online. We've been promoting the twerkers. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if I share something, or if you share something, that's nothing to do with a company or the music industry. That's down to our own personal core values.
Right.
As individuals, we have not been championing or celebrating. Forget just our leaders. Just even the everyday person that may have just be smart. Or just be elegant, or just be classy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, once again, they did not anticipate the success of the hip-hop movement. yeah, and culture. They didn't anticipate it. They didn't even think it was going to last. So at what point should we say, no, my bad, I gave it to them. I gave it to them.
Same thing that done with Soul Solid, grime music, everything over here as well.
And see, and that's the thing. It's like, I'm finding it really hard no matter where I go, because we've always known their agenda. But at what point do we turn around and say, as an individual, first and foremost, am I responsible? Am I a part? Even if it's 0.1% or 0.1%, am I responsible? What is my daily behavior? What is my daily actions? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so, 100%. And the reason why I say that, because I've been in many different households and I'm watching people watch their children watch certain things on TV. Right? And in that moment, they are saying, oh, he's only 1 year old. He doesn't understand swearing and all the rest of it. And in the back of my mind, as bad as it sounds, I'm like, there should be a license for people that have children. You need to pass a test. You need to pass the test. And I'm going to tell you the reason why, because we are not handing down the greatness of our culture. And if we don't hand down the greatness of our culture, then someone else is going to give you their culture or give you what they think your culture should be.
Culture bandits.
Right. Okay. And so here's what they know. They know in the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to be irrelevant. We'll be in our 60s or 70s or whatever. So it's a matter of time before the new generation comes up and think that the way that they exactly want them to think. It's a matter of time.
Right.
And so once again, when you get into a relationship, how are we qualifying our women and how are women qualifying their men? Because once you get someone pregnant and they are not for the bigger picture, that's it, your legacy's in trouble anyway.
Oh, wow. Come on.
You're going to court and you're going to be fighting a court case while your child is sitting down watching Little Nas X or whatever his name is. And you're trying to see your child for the next 2 years while your child has been indoctrinated by a whole nother mindset. Because if the mindset is not correct, you shouldn't have custody problems in the first place. And we are all guilty of it, including me. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? We are all, you know, and so what I'm trying to say to you is moving forward, what I believe needs to happen, we need to start and have a small VIP club.
Yes, sir.
And each person that goes into the small VIP club has to either be educated or they have to qualify. And then it grows. But to be honest with you, if we just stand in the middle of a field and we say on our megaphones, everybody hear what I've got to say, we're going to look like that Christian man who holds the Bible outside Brixton Tube Station and everyone's walking past. And that's what we are kind of like right now as we're talking.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's billions of people online and they really would prefer to see someone twerking right now. And it would more than likely be a black girl. And that black girl's more than likely going to be twerking in front of her children. And her children's more than likely going to be saying, let me slap that bum because I see them do it on TV. And then all of a sudden, it turns into a new culture.
And you know what, bro, Kevin? The twerking and all that dancehall stuff, we've been doing that for the longest time. And they, you know, the powers that be, mainstream, have capitalized on it. And I'm sorry to cut you. I just want to make sure that we quash everything as brilliantly as possible as we are doing right now. Kevin and Dean on the Black Car Speakers Lounge, share this video everywhere. I want to get into the history of this. I want to bring on the Queen that's going to talk about the nutritional warfare of how they're putting estrogen into food. Yeah? And it's a reality. It's not even a conspiracy theory. And to me, the black male image, has, historically speaking, was the first thing that had to be destroyed when we were kidnapped from West Africa. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing they had to do. They had to, the story of the Lion King suits well to us. It's symmetrically perfect with our history. You know, when you look at Lion King, the story, which really is an ancient fable, and you put that next to black history in terms of us losing our culture, And I love it when, you know, I mean, for example, what happened with the football? The black players on the England team, and I'm not one for complaining. I don't do complaining. We're about solutions here. But the black players on the England team, rightfully wearing the three lines, which are African origin, I'm telling you, racism at its very essence is about the destruction of the black male image. It's about effeminizing the black male image. Dave Chappelle, all of the comedians, I mean, let's look at Dave Chappelle. He was told to put on a dress and he refused to put it on. But all of these athletes and entertainers are putting on a dress. A lot of them are putting on a dress. You're talking about twerking. Our rapper Nicki Minaj this week. I mean, she's known for twerking and dancing and all that kind of stuff, but she came out with something this week regarding the double.
Say no more.
Yeah,
what we know doesn't need to be spoken.
Yeah, exactly. She came out with that, and then they were like, all the Twitter bots were coming after her, just because she had a thought in her mind to say, hey, I want to think about this. I want consideration for this, because I've heard from my family member, Nikki, saying on Twitter that this cousin's friend or someone she knows, I don't want to misquote, had something wrong with their reproductive organs. And I'm telling you, you see this whole thing? There's a BBC documentary posted on the Black Car Speakers Lounge page. It speaks about population control. Population control is not a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's facts. They're saying there's too many people on the planet. Global warming, all of these things are caused by human beings. This is what is being said by demographers. They're saying that populations in Europe are falling and black and brown populations are rising. So to the LGBT community out there, to the family out there, I say this. This is not about fighting the LGBT community, but it's about getting everyone to recognize that all of us have a common enemy, which is that LGBT community is being used to push their plan, their agenda. And I have conversations with them. I say, look, you do know that the reason why they're pushing this right now, because gay people have been around for ages. So why all of a sudden now they're giving it the green light? They're giving them the green light because it suits the agenda of population control. This is facts. This is facts. Mm-hmm. You can't, I mean, we all know that two same-sex genders can't reproduce. So that suits well with, oh, well, we can kind of curtail the population because it's overcrowded right now. And by the way, that's not true. Not
to cut you, but you see the thing? Because we can go into the realms, and I'm aware the sister's coming in imminently. We can get into the realms of creating that adversarial argument. First of all, let's unpack the term conspiracy theory. This is a CIA-created term to just enable people to dismiss anything that they aren't educated to be aware of. So a conspiracy is just two or more people coming together, planning and plotting. If you have any lack of comprehension about what this bigger agenda is about, just go and look at the 2019 Davos meetings and you will understand that this whole thing is about barcoding us for the digital dispensation for human control. That's just a very simple one, because none of the actual arguments that they make stand up to science. Take this thing that won't protect you because we want you to take it. Nicki Minaj is no scientific authority, so then why worry about her? None of it has any kind of cohesion going through. So we don't even need to conflate the LGBT movement, because it just happens that their movement has intersected with an agenda, which is the same as if our movement. So let's say, for instance, that a funder says he's got $1 million. I'm going to get it. I will take money from Hitler, if it is going, to serve our community. I don't say no to resources from anywhere, because trust me, I'm not going to follow your agenda. And I represent more than myself. I represent more than 3 million of us here.
I agree. I agree. And just to add to that, because it's so true. Once again, historically, divide and conquer has always been the one. It's a bit like a boxer knows that you throw a jab, then you throw a cross. And so that's how they've been consistent with divide and conquer. Okay? They've done it with tribes. They divided up our continents, they divided up our countries, they divided up our families. It's always been the same. They divide and then they whisper in the ear of the brother, then they whisper in the ear of the sister. Now the brother and the sister hate each other. They whisper in the ear of the mother, they whisper in the ear of the father, now they're broken up. Yeah? And so this divide and conquer. So once again, in the black community, what they've just done, they've just said, right, okay, ladies, don't be with the men. They're not good enough, they're not smart enough, they're not strong enough, they're not worthy enough, they're not compatible enough. Don't. And you see in the adverts, you see all these interracial relationships in the adverts. They let you know how many dark-skinned men do you see in an advert that is with a dark-skinned woman in an advert.
There was an issue with Sainsbury's this year, and I'm saying the brand, I'm mentioning the brand. Sainsbury's was like, it was a big brand that did not want to cast, and I know the sister, they didn't want to cast her with another dark-skinned, highly melanated brother in a commercial advert. And you know what? So what? We're going to just do our own ones anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But
Sorry.
The reason why I'm saying that is because what Dean is saying is so true, and I'm just adding to it, that's all. What's happening is there's a bigger agenda that's going on here, right? And it's to do with the barcode and etc. But what we're doing right now, we're talking about LGBT, yada, yada, yada. It's non-stop distractions that's going on, whilst this is moving very quickly. Then we look up and we're tired. We're tired. More people are tired. Let me tell you something. Listen. When the poll tax was going on, the people in the UK, they was on the streets and they said, this is not going to happen.
Come on.
What's been happening in the last 3 years has been 50 times worse than the poll tax.
Yes.
And you cannot get after people to even get out of their bed, much as go on the streets. The people are tired because they've learned every time you go out and you don't do something, the government will say, okay, this is how we dealt with it. It was incorrect. This is how we now need to deal with it. And so through lockdown, they broke people down. People just tired.
Come on.
And there were people that said, I would never take that thing in my arm, ever. And then after 6 months of being locked down, they said, give me what you want. I don't care. I just need to get out of the house.
Breaking.
Right? So when you're talking about butt and back breaking, this is the modern day butt and back breaking.
I want a bigger
version of it.
Yeah.
And so there's a bigger picture going on. But what they're very good at is letting people focus on the Little Nas X's and so on and so forth. And then by the time we wake up, all of a sudden, we can't even get into a club now. Yeah. Because we don't have something in our arm. And then we're going to say, in the name of please, 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 we'll do it. And then 9 months later, they'll go, oh, by the way, you now need a barcode. And you're like, no, we're not going to do it. They say, don't worry, back into prison for you, back into lockdown.
Here's the thing. It's already there. It's there as we roll up our sleeve because we aren't aware of the technology. Now, remember, it contains a digital portion of nanotechnology. Now,
Dean, as you're talking, I'm bringing in a sister, brother. Sorry, carry on.
Please,
sorry,
no, go ahead. The one thing I want to say about those pressures they have is it's called applied behavioral psychology. Now, when they throw this applied behavioral psychology at you from all angles, it leads to such an anxiety that people are, just like Kevin said, completely demoralized and tired. And when 99% of people get to that stage, they will capitulate and they don't even care what the long-term repercussions are for their short-term decision.
No, and you're 100% right. I've spoken to...
Kevin, before you jump, I just want to welcome the Queen. I know she's in transition in her car right now, but this is Queen Natal. So it's the three kings and the Queen, because you can't have a king without the Queen now. Come on. You know? Brilliant. And so I just want to welcome you onto the platform.
Thank
Kevin,
you.
Yeah, sorry,
so I'll just quickly finish off. Yeah, I'll just quickly finish off.
Go ahead, bro.
When I've spoken to the older generation, right, let's say 60 upwards, the reason why majority of them are taking the thing in their arm right now, not because they believe in it, but something that I missed because I'm a person, I investigate almost everything I can. They're taking it because they're saying, I've only probably got 20 years left on this life. I can't afford to be locked away. Whatever I need to do in order for me to just get out, in order for me to socialize. And so a lot of the older generation are doing it, not because they're believers, because they need freedom, because they're towards the end of their socializing days.
I want to go back to the motherland, I want to go back to the Caribbean,
right.
Travel, and, yeah.
Right, so if you realize, if you can convince the parents, the grandparents, then you can convince the parents. If you can convince the parents, the children by default have to fall in line. Now, because they know our teens stroke 20s stroke 30s are not strong, they just simply said no clubbing for you if you don't fall in line. It's a bit like your parents saying, if you don't sweep up the stairs, you're not going out. And you're like, I'm going to sweep those stairs in the best way ever because everyone's playing football outside.
And they didn't have vacuum cleaner with it's dustpan and brush.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, sweep it, yeah. And so the science and the methods and the campaigns, there's nothing new. We've seen it before. They've just done it in a new way. And it's funny, just the last point before I hand it back to you. It's funny how most of us say, if it was days of slavery, I'll be one of them slaves that will get killed because I'll be out there and I will fight for my freedom. It's like, you sure if you're in the days of slavery? Listen, you really think they'll do to me like what they've done to them? I'm a soldier. Okay, so here's your modern day slavery. How is this going for you? Well, I'm just taking 2. I'm waiting for my booster. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with taking it if someone believes in it. I'm saying if you don't believe in it and then you take it, it's because one way or other, you've been manipulated emotionally, psychologically, financially, or physically.
Well, this is it. And my thing is this, certain man have been saying from years ago, the planet is overpopulated. And the earth is 196,940,000 square miles of land and water. There's enough useful land and water for everyone to live prosperously. So we've got the Queen here. I know she's in transition. I'm very careful about, I know sister's driving, so I'm very careful about, I don't want to distract the sister, but I know she's ready. She's an expert. She's got it in her mind. And the reception's kind of gone a bit. You still there, sister? You good, yeah? Okay, it's kind of in and out. She might be going underneath some trees at a tunnel or whatever. But, you know, brothers, briefly, just very quickly, in a couple of minutes, the solutions. What are the solutions? Okay, I know. Oh, you're there, sister. You're there. Good. Sis, so in terms of the foods, because we need, you know, this is a chemical, biological warfare, you know, in terms of maintaining our health mentally and physically. And I loved what you were saying last week in terms of the natural remedies. Could you briefly go into some of the foods that contain different kind of hormones that manipulate some of our young people that we need to be aware of? And I'm very wary that you're driving, sister, so please, you know, I don't want to take your eye off the road or anything, obviously.
No, I'm not driving. I'm not driving, so it's okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
I'm in the passenger seat. I'm in the passenger seat.
Oh, yeah, you're in the passenger seat. Okay, calm. That's beautiful. Yeah. So, sister, tell us briefly, what are your thoughts in terms of masculinity from a female perspective and what's happening to black men briefly, but what we can do as a nutritionist, what can we do and what is happening rather in terms of the food with estrogen and the testosterone in the food that is happening especially to a lot of our young men.
Yeah. So basically there is an overload of hormones definitely that's coming within the food. So you've got the meat industry that put growth hormones in the animals. You have growth hormones in dairy. So the body is having so much hormones, not only from the dairy and the meat, but also from like chemicals that we may put on our bodies. So things like BPA as well. BPA contains a lot of hormones in the water. So they've done some tests on water, and there's so many hormones that's in tap water. So you've got the dairy, you've got the meat, you've got the water. There's so many avenues for your body to be overloaded with estrogen. And the thing is, what happens when you get too much estrogen is that you see some men, they have man boobs. And the man boobs are because there's too much estrogen in the body. Now, the thing is, there needs to be a balance, yeah? Because too much of something and not enough of something is always, you know, going to be a bad thing. But at the moment, there just seems to be, especially when I'm dealing with clients, there just seems to be an overload of hormones in the body. And
what kind of hormones exactly? Oh. Okay. Sister, I know you're traveling right now, so it's kind of janky with the traveling.
Yeah, can I add to that?
Yeah, sister's back now. No, go ahead. This is your show, brothers. Okay. Go ahead.
If you can, you can go ahead. But I'd like to add to that when I have a moment.
Oh, you did. You wanted to add to that, yeah?
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, we lost you for a good few seconds there.
Okay, cool. So yeah, there's a lot of things that kind of lower the testosterone in the body as well. So there are things like, people wouldn't even think, but things like mint
What's that?
Lowers mint.
Mint?
Yeah,
like polos and all that kind of stuff.
The herb mint
actually
lowers testosterone. So you can have hormones that's in plant-based, but the plant-based hormones don't seem to have bad effects on the body like the animal hormones. So yes, you can get hormones from soya and things like that, but there's been lots of studies proving that the plant-based hormones doesn't have the same effect as the animal hormones. So we really need to be mindful of the animal products that we're consuming, because the body doesn't understand the animal hormones. But when it comes to the plant-based hormones, it seems to be able to regulate it better. And there's lots and lots of studies. You could just Google this stuff. There's lots of studies showing that the plant-based hormones seems to balance things out much better.
Wow. Because I hear a lot of people say things like, sorry, Kevin, I'm going to bring you in real quick. I hear things like people, oh, you eat too much soy, that's why you're acting all girly and soft. You eat too much soy. Is that...
Honestly, the soy, you see, I've heard this so many times, and I've done so much research, and there's a lot of evidence showing that soya doesn't have the same amount of effect as the animal hormones. The animal hormones, our bodies just don't understand it. And like I said, you're getting it from the water, you're getting it from dairy, also stress. Stress increases estrogen as well. You can there's certain types of medication that increases estrogen in your body also. So there's lots of different ways that the body can have an overload of hormones. But honestly, in terms of the soya, if you do lots of research, you will see that the soya really doesn't have that bad of effect on the human body.
Interesting. Kevin, go ahead. That's really deep. I mean, I know.
I've got definitely second. I've got to add to that.
Go ahead.
So we spoke about this before, and it's very important because I'm actually once again writing about this at the moment. When a baby is born, okay, before the baby, the doctor will look at the baby and they'll see that the baby's either a male or a female, okay? But what happens, you have what you call gonads. Gonads secrete testosterone to the brain to tell the brain if the brain or the baby is a male or a female. Okay? So testosterone is sent from the gonads and sent to the brain, and then the brain knows it's a male or a female. Okay? Now, this is very important what I'm about to say here.
Come on, brother.
So the brain is female until it's told otherwise.
Say that again. Yeah? Say that again. Say that again.
The brain is female until it's told otherwise. But when the parents are eating certain things or ingesting certain things or using certain creams, what happens is the gonads do not secrete and send the correct amount of information to the brain. And so the brain doesn't know that it's a male. And so when you normally hear someone say, I feel like I'm two people, I feel like I am a woman, even though I have all the man bits, okay? It's because the gonads did not secrete the testosterone to the brain to tell the brain that it's a male.
Is that gonad? Spell that so to our moderators who are listening, to those who are going to come. Could you spell it?
I'll break it all down for you. Don't worry, I'll break it all down. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think it's spelled Gonads, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the reason why I'm saying it's very important, because when you're seeing a lot of these children, okay, it's not just when they are at teenage and they're going to the chicken shop. And it's not like a lot of these children, when they say they feel confused in many different ways, you have to identify, you have to identify a lot of the times what happened when the child, when there was pregnancy and so on and so forth. That's why on certain creams it says, do not use this cream if you're pregnant.
Wow.
Yes.
Right,
yes.
because it affects the gonads.
Yeah.
And the gonads send information to the brain to tell the brain if it's a male or a female.
Yeah.
Please, people, share what's going on. Share this page right now. Get your parents, get mom and daddy. Go ahead, go ahead. Share this. Oh, go ahead, man.
100%.
Yeah. So we kind of ended on that note. Yeah.
This
Go
is
ahead,
why I
sis.
was saying about the products, you know, certain products that you put, and it could be like, you know, when you're pregnant, when you're breastfeeding, all of these things play a big part. You know, what you're ingesting, what you're putting on your hair, what, you know, what shampoo, what conditioners, all of these things can have an effect on the hormones in your body. So yeah, it is diet. 100% diet plays a big, massive part. But then, like I said, it's also what you're putting on your skin, what you're putting on your hair, makeup. There's so much things that are in makeup as well that, you know, unbalance the hormones in your body. So, you know, 100%. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. The man them that wear makeup is going to affect your anyway.
No, it's funny that you also talk about the hair as well. Once again, I'm writing this in my book. I'll tell you why after. But I talk about this. I've been studying some cases where the man or the woman was poisoned, and in order for them to find out if he was poisoned, they would normally cut the hair. Right. And then they can see a timeline when the poison started, almost to the day. Jeez. They could say what it was, when it was, and at what point. So it made me interested in looking at the strands of hair in general. And I started to discover that hair of all different types carry information, frequency, and energy of its owner. So a lot of the times when people are even putting hair on their head, they are putting in historical data from the previous person and sometimes the generations of before
100%.
Into their head. And this is not just this is a scientific fact that you can just research it. That if someone was to die or if something was to happen, they can look at all the information, all the DNA in their strands of hair. And so a lot of the times, you know, our women, some guys as well, but our women are putting things into their hair that's got historical data that will be downloaded into their head from their previous owners.
Kevin, let me quickly jump in. And Dean, I want to bring you in, bro, on the history. I know you're full right now. In the British History Museum, and I think you know where I'm going, in the British History Museum, and we all should know by now that the Egyptians did not look like Charlton Heston or Elizabeth Taylor or Christian veil, you know, kings and gods of Egypt. We all should know that the kings and queens of Egypt look like this right here, what you see. Fact. So now, when you go to the British History Museum, Central London, go, take the children, take the young people, man. They have got our ancestors laid down and the hair is still there. I've heard it so many times, Kevin. I've heard it so many times, Dean and sister, that the technology in history is in your hair. So imagine what kind of knowledge they're extracting. I know we're kind of going deep from those mummies right now at the British History Museum. So that's the thought that just came to my mind. Dean, I want to ask you, bro, we want to go deep. With regards to what you've heard here, historically, and in terms of what we need to do now in terms of our diet. So we need to change our diet. We need to watch what we're watching. Because as you say, everything is mind. You are what you eat. And if we're going to teach our boys to be men, they have to be unashamed to be men. Our women to be women, unashamed to be women. So we have to control. What I'm getting from you yourselves is that we have to control what we eat, what we see, and our education. So that's what I'm getting.
It's called parenting, brother. It's called parenting. Because ultimately, if my son, who is 14, is 30 years old and he cannot manage himself, they're not going to look at a state who seeks to circumvent my parental rights. They're going to look at me because the blame lies with me. And what we actually do when we capitulate, we don't realize that we're actually capitulating by choice without being aware of the fact that we're making choices. We have inalienable rights. You said something very important. The technology is in our hair. The technology is actually in our blood. Yes. The technology is in our blood. It's because this is where our ancestors, who are us, collide with us. Now, when you start to understand about the soul and the metaphysical level, you understand that it takes place through the blood, which will actually be interrupted by rolling up your sleeve. Now, when we receive messages, such as our intuition, it comes from our people who course through our veins. It's just the fact that we're not aware of it. But aware or unaware, it is a fact. It is a metaphysical fact. Now, the more that you go on that metaphysical journey, which strips back the veil between the ethereal realm and our realm and the access to your people and the ability to communicate with them, is the better relationship that you will have, the more that you will fall in stream with harmony and find that you're able to mix your emotions with your intellect and draw down on that which you are just bringing from the ethereal realm into this realm. Remember, I said it to you before. You see a nice young lady, your man stands up, and it's not because she touched it or you touched it. It's because you had a thought that made a thing occur. So in understanding that, first and foremost, we understand that our lineage through cellular memory, which is why we have such an aversion to certain things like homosexuality, particularly in Jamaica, because it was an island for the unruly enslaved. Breaking was a thing where they would sexually humiliate us in front of the entire community. Now, based on that stored trauma at a cellular level, which also courses through our veins, we are our father's children. It just plays out that whether we are aware of it or not, we are quite resistant from that particular island. So when you've seen a certain resistance, this is based on the science of what our blood carries, which is cellular memory. Now, based on the trauma of that cellular memory, we are highly resistant with Jamaican ancestry, especially to homosexuality. Now, when the British Crown actually established Jamaica, homosexuality wasn't a jailable offense. It was a hanging offense. So when you see that the sailors in the Royal Navy who were having homosexual relations in a coal shed to conceal their activities were rumbled, they would be hanged on the boat after a very quick trial and dashed overboard. So what Kevin has said we've got to look at the history of how Europeans have dealt with this. Now, ask yourself a question, because number one, we've agreed that Europeans aren't omnipotent. Two, we've agreed that the man behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz, is not the power and the wizard that he purports to be. And three, we have inalienable rights. So who voted this man, Lord and Governor of planet Earth, able to create germ warfare that has created an invisible bogeyman that he will police and provide the solutions for, and we will all capitulate and adopt? We're not asking that fundamental question because we're not giving ourselves the power that we deserve. I am not asking anybody if I have the permission to do anything. I am a sovereign. It is chosen. It was given to me at birth. My spirit was resistant. I told you when we had our broadcast, I was unjustly sent in a corner in school, and I picked my 13 gold stars off the board when the closest person to me had 8. Therein finished my relationship with being an approval junkie. Because on an innate level, a cellular level, I knew I was a sovereign. I just didn't have any comprehension of what that entailed or what my true power was at a metaphysical level, because I lacked the experience. But I had the spiritual traveling where it felt like possession from 9 years old. I just didn't discuss it. But also wasn't aware cognitively that we can spirit travel. And it just felt demonic. Now, there are many of us who share these experiences who don't articulate them until years later. So the solution actually lies in a council of men and women not having town hall meetings, but board meetings to create systems of our own design to govern our own people within our interests.
Very good.
Very good. I agree. I agree. And I believe, just to add to that, it's so spot on, 100%.
100%.
Just to add to that, is that we need to have a level of patience as well. That it would take, even past our lifetime, that journey goes on. It's not a quick fix. You know, it's a generational thing. It starts with us. We introduce it into our children, they introduce it into their children, and it will morph as time goes on. And as long as that we have the level of patience and consistency the key to the biggest failures in life and the biggest successes in life. If you're consistent and you're losing, you're going to lose even more. If you're consistent and you're in the right direction to win, you're going to win even more. It's compounding.
Come on.
And so what Dean is saying is so spot on. It's unreal. And I honestly believe that it's a statement that Dean made that most people won't even understand until probably about 3 years from now. And then they will say, now I get it.
We're going to archive this recording.
No, it is, because here's the thing. What Dean is saying, he is bringing together so much. There's no one place he learned it, and there's no one place he understood it, and there's no one place he ingested it. It's like when you go to a restaurant, right, and you taste the chef's food. You're not tasting a 10-minute cook-up. You're tasting 25 years of experience in 5 minutes. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? That's what you're paying for. You're paying for his years of experience, the years of tears and blood and sweat. And what Dean is saying, and from what I understand, and how I'm interpreting it as well, is this. He's had to go through a journey. He's had to be put in the corner in order for him to make this statement. If he wasn't put in this corner, this statement wouldn't exist. Because being put in that corner also made him have to go deeper into studying who he is. Because in that moment, it felt painful until he refused to feel pain anymore. But in order for him not to feel pain anymore, he had to investigate who he was.
Come on now.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And so what I am saying, and what I'll probably just finish on, just to hand it back to you, is this. sorry, I'm going to apologize, but I'm going to swear, so it's a bit crass. I apologize, okay? When we were born,
children should be in bed by now, school tomorrow,
when we were born, we were precious diamonds. When we were born, so beautiful, such a bright, special diamond. Fresh from God, the God within us, the God out of us. We were precious diamonds. And then, over time, shit got smeared on the diamond. And the shit that got smeared is what people are saying to you. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not worthy enough. You're not light enough. You're not tall enough. Oh, you're short. Oh, you're short guys, they can't be successful. And all the rest of it. Okay? Right? So the diamond is who you are. The shit is now who you think you are. The shit is a self-conversation. Okay?
Go ahead, man.
And then the third stage is that now, because the shit is in your mind, you need to somehow prove to the world that you're not your self-conversation. See, now you get sprinkles. And sprinkles you try to put all over the shit so the world can see the sprinkles. The sprinkles are the cards. The sprinkles are the diamonds. The sprinkles are the big chests. The sprinkles are the big arms. Because that's what you want to sell to the world, because the shit that's going on in your mind. Our goal is not to believe the shit and is not to invest in the sprinkles, but clean the shit up and go back to the diamond.
Come out of the matrix.
And that's what the discovery is about. It's about going back to diamonds and build from there.
Go ahead. And you know what? Brilliant points from everybody. And I need to get sister, and as we conclude, because I'm aware, you know, that we've been on this and we've got people on our platform, and people, please share as we conclude. Please share, please follow, like, and subscribe. Please follow our guests on the Black Car Speakers Lounge. Oh my God, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. We've covered so much. So, sister, in terms of diet, briefly, well, I don't want to say briefly because I know you, sister, what can you say in terms of what should we be, specific foods? So we talk about foods that encourage estrogen. What kind of foods can we give to ensure that our masculinity is intact? Because there is obviously a chemical assault upon our young boys, in particular the ones with melanin. Yeah, I mean, when I used to go to school back in the day, chicken and chips was a treat. But today, chicken and chips is regular. It's a regular thing every day. It's every day. And you know how they treat these chickens on the farm. How they slaughter them as well. You know, it's crazy. And, you know, as you said, these young boys are growing certain kind of bodily parts that they shouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? So what can we do? What's the solution? I mean, what would you say as a nutritionist? Home cooking, obviously, but yeah.
I would say that it's really, really important. Like, it really disturbs me seeing the teenagers at the chicken shop, honestly. And I know that all of that chicken, all the meat, especially when it's not organic, and they're using the cheapest, low quality meat in those chicken shops. It's so bad, and it's so disturbing seeing the young people consuming this every day. I mean, you have to think about it. Look how a lot of them are acting. Look at the behavior. You know, why are they acting like this? Because at the end of the day, the food is affecting their minds. So it's really, really important to try and stay away. If you're somebody that wants to eat meat, then fine. But it's better to not go for the meats, that the cheap ones where they're using hormones and they're using, you know, growth hormones and all of this stuff in the meat, in the dairy. If you can avoid this stuff, it's going to be amazing. If you can be mindful of the things that you put on your skin, you know, stress, do things to kind of de-stress you, because stress, you know, raises estrogen. So as long as you're doing things to kind of like keep yourself, you know, in your zen, you meditate, you eat whole foods. Plant-based foods does contain hormones, but you don't have to worry about them as much as the ones that come from meat. And you really, really do have to consider eating lots and lots of whole foods, vegetables, organic, because all of these foods is just going to just fill you and nourish you. The hormones, it's not even just in men, but in women. Like a lot of the clients that I deal with, it is because of hormones imbalance. So it's something that's really, really common. So we just have to, if we're gonna be cooking, make sure you cook with mineral water. Don't use the tap water. Don't drink tap water because it's full of hormones. They've done some tests, and the amount of hormones in water is ridiculous. And
it's effeminizing the men.
Yeah, 100%. So it's so important to just be mindful of what we're putting in our bodies. Read, research, you know, and just try and be mindful that when you are consuming all of these foods, as much as people think it's nice, the long-term effects of these hormones is so bad. So, you know.
Thank you, Queen. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just lastly, as we conclude, I just want to ask everyone, has everyone seen American producer by the name of Tariq Nasheed? He produced a documentary called Buck Breaking. You've seen that? For me, that kind of encapsulates and encompasses everything that we've been speaking about, historically, politically, socially, you know, economically, and in terms of what we're saying in terms of the emasculation of black men. We can agree that black men, would you agree, sister, that black men today are being emasculated and that the masculine male image has been taken away? I know the connection's kind of gone in and out there. Would you agree, sister, that the image of the black male has been somewhat tampered with? And for yourself, what does it mean to you, a masculine black male? What does it mean to you? What does that mean to you when you hear those words?
For me, masculinity just means, you know, a man that is just, you know, just in touch with the manly side. You know, a lot of the times when, you know, you have low testosterone, you develop a more of a calm, more docile. You're just more kind of chilled. But when you've got the testosterone
composed.
Okay.
You're not going to have,
sorry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Can hear you now, but we lost you a little bit. Sorry.
Oh, did you lose me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so masculinity for me is just, you know, a man just being in touch with their manly side. Yes, you know, men have their role, women have their role, and, you know, it's nice to see when a man kind of fits their role, you know, and the woman fits their role. When you have low testosterone, it makes you kind of lose that, and it kind of, you know, makes you more calm, more chilled, and things like that. So that obviously when you get to a certain age, when you get to, like, I don't know, maybe past like 35 and stuff like that, your testosterone kind of drops. Yeah. So then you will be experiencing erectile dysfunction and things like that. But that is just because of certain things that you've been consuming. Over time, your testosterone levels are just going to drop. They will just say that, oh, you're just getting old. It's just one of them things. You just get old. But really, it's just because you've been consuming certain things that's lowering your testosterone. And this is the reason why these things happen, even a bit earlier than they're supposed to. You know, they try to normalize these things like, oh, you know, it's a normal thing of, you know, when a man gets older, for them to, you know, not want to have sex as much, or for them to have erectile problems. No, it's not a normal thing. If you're not consuming these foods that lower your testosterone, these things are not going to happen. You're going to be of a certain age, and your testosterone is going to be high.
Not necessary.
You know, it's going to be fine. And that is exactly the same with menopause. There's no such thing as menopause.
Wow, that's the first time I heard that. Sister said there's no such thing as menopause.
Can I ask a question about diet? Because
please go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead, Dean. This is your show.
I want to ask you a question, sister. Because I know that when men turn 40, our testosterone drops almost 50%. And I know that eating avocado can replace testosterone. And I know that the omega-based oily fish.
You just trying to talk about.
Is there anything else other than
Sorry,
the oily
Dean
fish.
was just asking you a question. Sorry. Brother Dean was just asking you a question. I don't know if you caught what he was saying. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I know that when men turn over 40, our testosterone drops almost 50%. So I know that avocado is a great testosterone replacement, and oily fish, omega-3 oily fish, is a great replacement. But is there any other food-based source that can replace the testosterone that we're losing after 40?
Yes.
Wow.
The things that can kind of boost your testosterone, you know, people will be shocked, but things like laughing, yeah, laughing boosts your testosterone.
Come on.
It really does, yeah. Ginger.
Hold on. Hold on. Sorry. Hold on, sister. Sorry, Queen. Everybody right now on this chat right now, yeah? I know we've been having very serious conversations. Very good. Everybody laugh. Just laugh. Hold on, man. Just laugh. just laugh.
Our laughter.
Go ahead. Go on.
Yeah,
sorry.
Ginger also is an amazing thing that kind of boosts his testosterone as well, and a lot of people don't know that.
Oh.
Speak about vitamin D. I always say that vitamin D is absolutely vital, but it actually does boost testosterone. And make sure you're working out, lifting weights. These, legs, especially legs. If you do like leg press and things like that, amazing at boosting testosterone. But avocado,
that's right.
course, that does too. Yeah.
Say that again. What's that?
I said
that last part, sister.
Definitely. Did you hear me?
100% avocado.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you, sister. That's a great question, Dean. Great answer, sister. Avocado. Sorry, go ahead, Dean. Go ahead, bro.
No, listen, what the sister's reeling up is beautiful. Because when we talk about solutions, they have to be demonstrable. And when a man knows that his mask is going to be effective, you're going to draw down on his interests. What we have to start doing as a people is draw down on what our interests are. Because it's just clean water and dirty water. If people are offering our community things that aren't within our interests, all we have to do on this side is offer our people things that are within our interests. So when you are looking at the movement, which is unvirtuous, it's just highly polished with infinite resources. All we need to do is create short form media assets. Like I said, our relationship with HMP TV and our delivery partners in Knowledge Finder is creating these short form media assets on a daily basis to create slow exposure to our people, because no masterclass is going to do it. It's the slow exposure through the subconscious mind on a daily basis with high production value, high quality short form media assets. So give our people what they need. If you let a man know that his shit mask is going to turn up, he's going to listen. You've got his attention immediately. And if his missus is looking at him at the same time, that goes across the board as a provider, as a caretaker, as a model with its intellect, experience, and intellectual capital for his children and family. We got to serve our people's interests. That's what makes it attractive.
Brilliant. We just lost the sister. I don't know if it's due to reception or she arrived at her destination. Sister, if you'd like to come back on, you can come back on. I'm very conscious of the time. Do you know what?
Beautiful information that she laid out. Beautiful.
Beautiful. And you know, I'm going to be, and I know, brothers, you can share this with me. We've only not even scratched the iceberg of this whole thing. It's I mean, to be honest with you, what you guys have spoken about today, for me, my mind's racing because it's funny, right? Our women really needs to qualify men on a whole nother level. And us men need to seriously qualify our women on a whole nother level. And I'll tell you the reason why, because it ain't just the normal qualifications we want our women to be, but what food are they feeding us and what food will they feed our children? They have to really be on board, but we have to also be on board as well. We have to remain healthy. we have to remain on point, because we need to maintain our masculinity. But it's once again, there's too many doors open. There's too many doors open in order for us to lose our masculinity, because, you know, it's dietary, it's mindset, it's health, it's all those kind of things. You know, it's not just, do you know what, he's got a good job, because that doesn't qualify enough. You know, not just, no, he will hold down the family, he will kind of like pay for the bills in the household. That's not enough. If we're going to talk about legacy, that's a great survival conversation, but it's not a legacy conversation.
Come on. Come on.
And so, the truth be told, if we're talking solution now, the only way I see, and I don't know it all by a long shot, but the only way I see, honestly, you have to build a small community who shares a common core value and a common focus in order to achieve the common goal amongst a certain type of mindseted people.
And that
is the only way, because it's like you open a business today and you're trying to do everything at once. If you look at Facebook, Facebook started and it was simple. And then as time went on, they started to introduce new things into the system until we are here now. When Instagram started, it was simple. When Google started, it was simple. If you go around the most successful companies on the planet, they understood the science of keeping it simple and expand as you go along whilst you build your community. If we break Facebook regulations right now, we're off.
Go ahead.
If we break Instagram regulations right now, we are gone. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So what I'm saying is, we are already in a community, but it's not the community that we should be happy to be a part of. We need to create another community. That's the reason why, like, right now, if we had 10,000 people listening to us, all it takes Facebook to say, I'm not really feeling you lot today, and you're done. Yeah, and so we need to learn, solution, as I said, we need to build a small community. It's not about how big we can make the community to start with. It's and the community starts in your mind. Be your community in your mind, act your community in your mind, and treat people in accordance to how you want your community to behave externally. And then you are worthy of your community that you want to qualify other people with.
100%. 100%, brother. I love that. I love that. Dean, please, anything you want to add, brother? Please, go ahead. I'll say, yeah. We're going to do another one, but yeah.
No, my feelings are 110% congruent with Kevin's. And I actually envisaged this day about 4 years ago, being aware of you. And you could go and check your LinkedIn message and you'll see that I sent you to the ADPAC board for the directors and the trustees of the board of ADPAC. Is all there because your mind, based on a very similar curiosity about everything. And it's not everybody that we have these kind of conversations with. Remember, the air gets very thin at a particular level in that we can have completely naked conversations. Now, people get lost, or they have their hang-ups, or they have their issues, or this science isn't for them, or why are we talking about this, or it's boring. For people, there's a drop-off. But there is a small cabal of people who are actually curious about everything that would lead towards creating the solution-based systems for us. And I said, Hove said it, less is more. There's plenty of us. And it is just convening around that board table to solidify those systems based on our collective experience and intellectual capital, because that's how you create a critical mass. It's about the influencers at the center, just like any society acts. And we can't even really speak too deeply on the things that we're discussing, but as I say, what is known doesn't really need to be spoken. But whenever societies have an agenda is tenfold, is to infiltrate, to recruit their own, to design how that society, how that institution then sees through the mind's eyes of those who recruit their own, and now it is through our mind's eye. It just happens that, as you said, within our house, with 5 doors, this is what's happening with us. Now, me and my brother Gwenton are about to start a safe space training for peer leadership, understanding that we're old foots, that their peer leaders having a safe space environment with them just need a GPRS. So our role is to recruit missiles and give them a GPRS so that they become guided missiles. Now that when we're putting guided missiles in a space, they give a trajectory to more missiles and it becomes infectious. Those are the viruses that we want to spread. The psychological viruses that completely now inform their operating systems based on the amount of options. Because how we digest, and I said it to you in our first broadcast, is we see things in photographs, but at the moment, they have the numerous options that are zeros and ones. And I said it to you, 001 is one option, 010 and 001 is another option. But what we do is we give them informed options to make better choices and decisions. Now, if we are so-called adept men and women who are designing the systems, and take for granted, we had the conversation about palmists that the government have and those who are metaphysicians in our own ranks, and we have all of these bodies. What separates us from them apart from our lack? Now, if we know that we are sovereign and that we have a sovereign underwriter and that we can become formal sovereigns as directors and trustees, then we're no longer asking that question. Because I asked you the question in the last show. I said, what happens if one man is running around Londinium with a 45? His Sky contract is going to get cancelled quick, right? Now, what happens if 1,000 men walk around London with AR-15? This is a system, and this is collective sovereignty. Systems change societies, not individuals. We become very emotionally attached to those who are transitioned by the state, whether it is through theory like Nipsey Hussle or actually like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, doesn't matter. Let us no more talk about individuals, but institutions and systems to be employed for mass adoption based on the intent of a very small cabal who is very focused with their respective expertise in different areas, because a corporate board is just respective expertise who are forming sweat equity. And that sweat equity is all important to the actual incorporation of the institution that becomes functional.
Cool. Brilliant. And you know what? I'm going to say it. It sounds like in film works, that's right. That's like we have to set up a Jedi council. We have to set up, you know, just like the Matrix. We've got to set up that Nebuchadnezzar. We've got to, and yeah, we got just like what they do there
for Zion. Because if we don't roll up the sleeve, irrespective of our understanding, we're taking the red pill. So we must forget about convincing others to unplug. You offered the pill, red or blue, but we must form Zion to protect those who take the red pill and make us a protected group.
Spot on. No, you're right. Spot on.
And then you know what? What I'm getting from both of yourselves as we conclude, it hurts me to say this, but I'm going to say it. We can't get everybody.
No. Don't even try.
We can't get everybody. That's something. What I've learned over the last go ahead.
Historically, when we tried to get everybody, we've ended up losing. You know, if it's the Marcus Garveys, the Malcolm X's, they all got infiltrated by people that was trying to convince, even though they knew deep down, you're not the one to convince. But in the name of ego, whatever it may be, ego, who knows?
Listen, brother, I'm a Bible man. And I even reflected over the story of Noah. Noah was building the ark, bro. And I don't take it literally, that story, but Noah was building the ark, the people came on, but the animal them, and I'm saying it in patois, the animal them had more sense than the people standing on the sidelines mocking. They were laughing at Noah, because Noah was a drunkard, you know. Noah was, he was imperfect, he was a drunkard, but yet conveyed the message of God. The animals had enough sense to get on the ark, yo. The knowledge, Noah, and to float, and to have that, obey the law of buoyancy. Anyway, I'm not going to get too deep in that, but you know, every week we have to drop a little scriptural story, and there's so much relevance in that. The animals had more sense to get on the ark than the people that are standing on the sidelines mocking. And we know, I don't take the Bible as literal. It's not literal. There was no snake in the garden telling a woman to nyam the apple. To me, it's metaphor. It's all metaphors. You know,
sorry,
so
I've got to add to that because I know time's running now.
Go ahead, go ahead.
But I've got to add to that.
You got me in the spirit, man. You got me in the spirit. I've got the Holy Ghost now. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, I've seen about 3 documentaries, and the rest are films. The films are kind of irrelevant, but it's still nevertheless. I've seen about 3 documentaries where there's a tsunami. And when a tsunami is about to happen, you see the shore back up. And all you see is the floor. Yeah, you'll see the seabed, and you'll see fishes flapping around.
Yep.
And what happens is people who don't have no education or they're not intuitive, they walk in and onto the seabed, whilst you see birds flying in the other direction. You see all the nature making decisions because they know a tsunami's on its way. It's only the people that do not have the intuition or the education walk into the tsunami, not realizing that what's about to come, they cannot outrun it.
Remember that.
Yeah. So a tsunami is there,
To say the least.
but the question is, are you looking on the sea floor, the seabed, or are you running for safety and building some form of waterproof shelter?
Facts.
And this is the reason why we don't have the time to stand around and say to people, guys, please look, because they're too inquisitive with what they should be intuitive about.
100%.
Jeez.
You know, and I'll just end it there, you know. So we need to be more aware of the tsunamis. And then whoever gets it, but see, the thing is, don't educate people on the tsunamis here. We have to educate people. We ain't got time to educate. When it's just like if you go to war, right? You're a Spartan or you're a warrior, you're a Zulu warrior, whoever you are. On the battlefield is not the time to educate.
Out of war, bro. Out of war.
It's not the time. You know, when you look at the mythical stories of the Spartans or whatever it may be, but we could talk about the Zulu warriors, get the exact same story even better, right? They were trained as babies to prepare for the war. You don't train people the same day as the war. That's why when they said in 300, what are you? Oh, I'm a farmer. What are you? You know, I'm a shooter. These are not the people you're going to war with. They're not trained. And so on the battlefield, you're going to end up like William Wallace.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why most of our leaders, the Malcolm X's, the Marcus Garveys, all of them, they didn't have a team to protect them when the war was on. They were the only soldiers. So we have to be like the nannies of the Maroons and have the soldiers around us like that.
Sure.
Come on.
So until then, I'll be honest with you, until then, we have to turn around and say, who's the Spartans here? I am a Spartan. Let me qualify you. and then we're ready. But right now, we ain't got time for the locksmiths.
Straight, 110%. And it's a shame that we're in this technological era, era of information. And the one thing we can't discuss is our security aspects. But as I said, that's what the actual personal meetings are for. And the generals are there, and they are aligned, and they are also qualified. And we have them in legion on all sides. I don't need to sit down with you, Kevin, to know your mind, to know your experience, or know your connections. I'm well aware. And South London is a very small environment where everybody know everybody. Anybody can find out about anybody's few conversations. So we're well aware about the caliber that we're talking about. And we are aware that it's only our will that either enables or stops us from being a protected group. The minute we make that decision and particular bodies come into a room, we are a protected group. And the fact that we just haven't aligned and organized along systems is why we are vulnerable right now. And the reason the attack is for those generations, which is why we counter them with these initiatives for young men to grab their minds and also feed their bodies and then physically train them at the same time, is because we are aware of how to counter the attack. But when we understand that our role is really to demonstrate and put a lighthouse on the beach so that all ships can come into shore at a particular destination, there is nobody who will compete with us. There is nobody who will trouble any of the so-called 8 boroughs where we are a majority of the community, from Croydon, Lambeth, Southwark, Lewisham, Brent, Haringey, Ealing, or Hackney. So all we have to do is align. But once we align, these conversations that we are having here are light work.
Come on. I want everyone to pop a fire finger for the 2 guests, the 3 guests. This is something that has to be played again and again and again. Myself personally, share this video. And I'm saying there's stuff that needs to be discussed offline. One for all and all for one. Alexander Dumas, the writer of The Three Musketeers, a black man. Alexander Dumas, black writer of The Three Musketeers, said one for all and all for one. What happens to one happens to all. What happens to all happens to one. This is what I'm getting. This is what you call masculinity. And I keep hearing this going around, protect our women, protect our women. Well, if the man them are scatter, we can't protect our families. So this is the call for us to come together economically, socially, politically, in every field of endeavor. You know, all for one, one for all. What happens to you, Kevin? What happens to you, Dean? Happens to me. My phone is available. My phone number, you can phone me at any time. And you know, anyway, you man know that already. You know what kind of material, we're cut from the same material. So look, anytime. And that's exactly what we got to be. That's how we bring family. And this is what I'm learning from you, brothers. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this.
Thank you for the platform, King.
Yeah, man. Everybody listening, please put up a heart signal, a fire signal for our brothers here, our guests, and the queen that was on earlier as well, man. She gave the food, you know, power foods that we need to eat and things that we need to try and stay away from. You know, masculinity is beautiful. Femininity is beautiful. Yin and yang. And I love what we're talking about today. And we only, just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to come again. We're going to go deep into relationships, male and female relationships. Because right now what's trending is the Kevin Samuels and higher value and all of these things here. Then we need to talk about it. We need to get into it. We need to get into it and stop the gender warring and bring gender together, male and female together. Because what happens to her happens to us. And what happens to us happens to her. You know, bottom line. Bottom line. And that is what we need to do. Bring us together. Let's work together. We can't work. Forget that Willie Lynch thing. We need to get rid of it. Yes, we can critique each other constructively, but let's come together at the end of the day, man. Brothers, thank you very much, yeah? Thank you.
Respect,
Thank you very much. Respect. I'll speak to you offline and we're going to pattern up something. Thank you.
Dean, respect, my brother.
We got the kings now. We got the kings. We are the kings. Love my brothers. People stay on the platform. Please follow these kings here on their respect. Before you go, if they're gonna, please pick up your platform. Please tell us where we can come and follow you. Your book, Kevin. Where can we come and get your book? The course, everything what you're doing, brother Dean. The course is what you're doing. Please tell us where can we go? Where can we go? Can you put it on the comment section so we can come and follow? Because now it's action time, as we're saying, action time.
Okay, so I'll just quickly say the book is going to be called. It's coming out probably in the next 4 months. The book is called "Who Helps the Helpline When the Helpline Needs Help." It's a long title, but it's poignant. And also, I'm launching Kevin Bennett's Trauma podcast. Yes. That will be launching in about 2 weeks' time. And I'm actually, it's taken me some time. I'm launching a company called Bennett. And it's actually, most of it is built on artificial intelligence, helping people that's going through mental and emotional trauma. Yes. So it looks like 26 scales of emotions, works out what you're experiencing, and then it will adjust its whole system to serve you. So that will be launching in about 4 months as well. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate the platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much. Everyone go follow Kevin Bennett on the gram. And everything's there. Dean, tell us, King. Tell us, man, where can we come and patronize your courses? What's the link, the website? Obviously, everyone follow this king here on the gram. Go on the gram, on the Facebook, on the Twitter, on the LinkedIn, and get linked in with Dean. Dean, go ahead, brother.
ADPAC.net. So if you go to adpac.net/blogs, you'll get all of the information with the current initiatives. So whether you're an educator, whether you're a youth engagement practitioner, whether you're in economics, politics, it goes across the board because we bring in all of those expertise for our own systems. We keep speaking about other ethnicities. We can live in a parallel universe, unbothered by anybody, because we're a small enough cabal of possibly 1 million who just mind our own business.
Go ahead. You know what? You man look like you're in the same room as well, Big up. I know it's a split screen, but you look like you're in a
dangerous room.
Big up yourself, Kings, and I'll be speaking with you offline. Thank you, my brothers. Thank you for giving us your time and your knowledge and your wisdom and understanding. Thank you. Bless up. Thank you, King. Thank you, Dean. And I want to say thank you to the Queen that was on. Please go and follow up. Share this page. You got to share this live. Share it. We're talking about masculinity. It's an energy. Yeah, come on, man. Put up that fire symbol. Please follow this page. Follow, like, subscribe. I'm going to be putting more stuff on this page. Go to our YouTube. That's Black Car Speakers. No, not Black Car Speakers Land. That's the Black Film Institute, where we have a host of short films, other podcasts, and everything up on there, as well as this page as well on our Instagram. Follow everywhere. Subscribe, like. We want to get the likes up. We want to get the subscriptions up, because now we have our own platforms. We have our own means of dissemination of information to the human family, be you black, white, pink, purple, everybody, Christian, Muslim, Jew, no matter what your persuasion. This is our saying. No matter what your persuasion is, no matter what your creed, color, class, even your sexual orientation, if you're family, you're family. What's what we're talking about? We're just talking about masculinity today. Family is family. Yeah? So that's what we're dealing with. We want to say thank you very much to our guests that came up. And please look forward to what? A strong days ahead. We don't say weekdays, strong days ahead. And I hope you did the exercise, what the sister was telling us to do, which is to abstain from certain foods, what did we say? Something that you want to achieve in your mind personally, keep visualizing it. All of those things. We're about purpose. We're about success. And we're about manifestation. So stay tuned to Black Car Speakers Lounge, Instagram, YouTube, Black Film Institute. And I've been your host, Courtney Winston. Peace, love, and have a strong days ahead. Because you know why, as we always say, you are the superstar of your movie called life. So you're going to go through turmoil, but guess what? The superhero always wins at the end. You are the director and the writer of your own script called life. So just write yourself in as a winner, because you are. Peace and love.